younger in his own ministry, as many charismatics are in his ministry, came, a very, very educated person came to him personally and said, do you know, Brother Swagger, what everything is fine with you. Everything. All what you need is one thing. And he said, what is needed? He said, everything is beautiful, is evangelical, is except for one thing. And when that day you have that thing, we all can be one in Christ. And Brother Swagger said, what is that? I want to know what it is. She said that you do not partake of the Mass. And the day that you partake of the Mass, then we all will be one. Listen to this. Now, what Catholicism was trying to do by persuasion, mystical persuasion, it will never work. Let me tell you why. Because Roman Catholicism, the entire Roman Catholic system, from the papacy down to the clergy and to the people, they cannot survive. No one will be able to survive without political power. And you know why? First, because even if the political power were not persuaded by Catholic teaching, that political power alone is a threat to Roman Catholicism. Because Roman Catholicism has been a threat and is still a threat to every principle of freedom. It's been a threat to every government, regardless of whether it's a democracy or whether it's a dictatorship. The fact is that it's a threat, and governments and political power has not that well that even Roman Catholic, as I mentioned last night, Roman Catholic kings and emperors has brought their armies right to the door of Rome to take over the papacy. History is full of them. Now, what happened? Why they feel, what they know once they reach political power? What are they demanded? What are being requested? I'll tell you briefly. There is two pedestals of the Roman Catholic system that is described in this commission invested in the Pope that you see here riding this white horse. Two pedestals, two bases where the whole system stands upon. One is the doctrine of the apostolical succession, on which not only the doctrine of the papacy is built upon, but the Pope himself. The doctrine of the apostolic succession. And the second doctrine, you can see the mystical power now, but see this, watch it and see it. Then there is, next to this, the doctrine of the temporal power. What that means is, the Pope claimed two powers, a spiritual power and political power. He himself realized that he could not survive without. It's not in the ambition of one individual. It's the system that demanded. It's the philosophy of the system that required. And you cannot say, well, this is an idea of one pope or other popes. This is the system. And every pope has to bow to that system, to those doctrines. Why temporal power? Come now to chapter 6 of the book of Revelation. And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him hath a bow. Now, as you can see the Pope riding in his white horse, more than any other Pope in the world. I mean, you have not seen in the history of the papacy, no Pope ever have traveled more than the Pope of Rome, John Paul II. Now, I have something here that I'm afraid that you are not going to see well from here, but you can get the book later and you will see it better. But here, this is the position that I must. Now, he had a bow. This is one of the characteristics should be added to the prophecy of Jesus Christ in chapter 24, verse 5. four characteristics that Jesus Christ, by which Jesus Christ himself described the papacy. Now you have one more. This is 5. Now, listen to this. He had a bow. Now, this is a very special crucifix in the hands of a pope. Some of that, it cannot be in the hands of a priest or in the hands of even a cardinal. Only the pope can carry this special crucifix. Why? It's so special that not only is only given only to the pope to be carried, and only his personal assistant to hold it while he performs Mass, that this crucifix have even tremendous, mysterious history during the Middle Ages, relate even to the Illuminatis. And then the Kabbalah among the Jewish tradition. Now that is a lot. Here is. You turn the crucifix. Once you turn it this way, you will find out that two lines that are contrary to any crucifix, contrary to any crucifix, because all the crucifix, all the crosses are a combination of two geometrical lines, horizontal and vertical. These two lines are concave. And these two, now you have that even the arm of what is called Christ, that I thank you God, there is no Christ, but the image of the Antichrist himself. This idol here, reflecting and portraying to be Christ, extends his arms. Usually, the arms are laid across the horizontal part of the cross. Here, the arms are extended in this symbol. Impressive. The symbol that you have seen that is becoming popular, even with naturalists today. Every other new movement, you will see more and more this symbol here. Now, what that makes is already a bar. If you care to see, this is exactly the two pieces that make a bar without error. Come now and see. And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bar. It's impressive, they have no arrows. But you now understand that the presence of arrows in the days of the Roman Empire, a Roman emperor will carry a bar without arrows. It's a symbol of peace. Once the arrows were with the bar, that means war. White do not only symbolize the holiness, and he is called His Holiness, but symbolize peace. The Word of God said, when they said peace, destruction shall come upon them. The proclamation of peace never before has become more relevant by the Pope of Rome and all the history of this civilization. To the point that even right now, government, I'm not talking about Italian government or Spanish government or the French government, but the government of the United States, for the first time in history, has consulted with the Pope about the deployment of rockets in Europe against communism. And the deployment of the highest, most powerful weapon has to be consulted with the Pope of Rome in 3 days of conference with his Secretary of State and his Vice President, President Reagan. You can see now that every other encyclic and every other pastoral letter of the Bishop of Rome all over the world consistently call for peace. As you approach the second statement here, and a crown was given unto him. Another characteristic. I will say, let's count 4 from chapter 24 of the Gospel of Matthew, verse 5. Then the white is 5, pardon me. Then 6, the bow, and the crown makes 7, and then we have one more to go. The crown, the special crown. Now, you read in chapter 19, the word was not crown in singular. As you saw, Christ have what? Many crowns. Jesus Christ have many crowns. Now, what is the idea for a pope to be crowned with one single piece called a triple crown? In other words, crowns in plural. The real crown of the pope is not a crown in singular. They are crowns. They have 3 crowns and one called the tiara. They are completely indivisible, separated crowns. They make 3 stories in that tiara. Now listen to this. What is the meaning and symbolical meaning, not only, but prophetical meaning of 3 crowns in the head of a pope? Now, do you understand that John Paul II was the first pope in history to request, not refuse? Now, don't misunderstand me. I don't say that he refused. I said he was the first pope in history, after was appointed to become a pope, and was already told by the cardinal to as vicarius filii Dei, immediately you are the one that takes the place of the Son of God. What immediately follows is his first Mass as a pope. And he are to offer the Mass in what is called the Mass of Coronation, that as a matter of fact, involves the greatest liturgy, display of liturgy ever known to men. Because there come the best singers and the best orchestra play what is called the March of Coronation. Then immediately, where that crown is placed upon the head of the Pope, he already is telling the world, not only that he is the head of the Catholics, he's telling the world that he is the head of all the governments of the earth. Listen to this. Now you understand better, because why even Roman Catholic kings and emperors will have problems with the Pope throughout the years. And what even Napoleon was afraid for any special envoy of the Pope to crown him. He refused to be crowned by any envoy of the Pope as was sent, and he refused. Now, what is the meaning of all these confrontations here? It's just, again, coincidence that someone had the idea to make a triple crown, to make a difference of all other crowns of kings and emperors? It's just that. Well, hear this. And a crown was given unto him. He doesn't have a crown. Was given to him. Now, a prince, when he becomes king, it's not that the crown is given to him. He has the right to the crown. They are the inheritors of the crown. Princes are the inheritors of the crown. But here the prophecy says that the crown was given unto him. It doesn't say crowns precisely. Nevertheless, you can see the double meaning of this. There is one crown, but there are 3 crowns in one. Again, what this Pope pretends to tell the world about who is he, spiritually speaking? Christ. Many crowns. He knew when he was already crowned that he now had power on earth, one crown. The one that is below. The one that is below is meaning that he have already granted, given, by God, by divine decree, the power over the governments of the earth. Let me go back briefly into Augustine in the year 400. Augustine, one of the so-called early fathers, developed that theology of the temporal power. He was already an embryo during the Roman Empire, because the Roman emperor himself presided the first Roman Catholic consul. Some historians that are still confused even until this day, they said that was the first consul of the Christian church. That never was true. That was the first consul of the Roman Catholic system. The Christian church have one consul in Jerusalem, and even the apostles never saw the need for the second. I mean, they never saw the need, nor even for one more. It's over. Was over. And that consul that he presides, he already had two powers that he invested as an emperor. What were those? What he exercised in paganism, he exercised within Catholicism. What that was? He was the political leader of the empire, and he became the spiritual leader of the Roman Catholic system before the Bishop of Rome immediately later came to be the first Pope. Actually, historically, we could say that the first Pope of the Roman Catholic system was not even the first bishop that took that office, but Constantine himself became the first Pope of the Roman Catholic system. Now that attempt has been seen throughout history. By the way, the Borgian family was one of those that they believed that they have the right to the papacy because they were kings. This is to just show you one sample more. But listen to this. When the crown was given unto him and were granted the power over the governments of the earth, Augustine said that already that exercise was already decreed by God even before the Bible was inspired. Before the Bible ever exists, Augustine said, God already has decreed the doctrine of the temporal power and the creation. I myself, as a seminarian, was very excited to know what that will be. And when I hear that for the first time, I was all involved into the matter, and I was full of anxiety, waiting to see what the teacher will say about how we see it in the stars and the planet, that doctrine, and how they can read it. And I was waiting to see it and to hear the explanation. He said, Augustine already had developed that revelation. And there is the sun, he said. And the sun, who do you think represent in the planets? Among the planet and the firmament, who represent the sun? Immediately my question, even as a student, as a seminarian, as a Roman Catholic, my own consciousness not yet so drunk until years later, immediately respond, God. And I was to be punished for such a reply. I said, God. And everybody looked around me, because just it brought out without not knowing what I was even saying. I said, God. He asked, who do you think that the sun represents? When God created the firmament, who do you think that he had the sun to represent? And I said, God. He said, the Pope. Because the sun is the center of life, Augustine said. The sun is the center not only of life, but the center of power, energy, life. Then he went further saying, to be brief, the moon. And he said, who do you think the moon is? And I said, I got no answer here. I better wait. I better wait. You see, you as Catholics have these dilemmas quite often too. When you were questioned, most of the time you have some sincere, honest, pure answer that was not even what you imagined in Catholic teaching. This is why there's so much inconsistencies within Catholic teaching, even within Catholic teaching, so much inconsistency that even until this day, even Jesuits under dispensation are going around the world like a Hans Kahn, one of them, Malachi and Martin, another, talking only about the inconsistencies within Catholic canon laws and Catholic teaching. And they are Jesuits. They are not former Jesuits. They are Jesuits. Why? When I hear the explanation, I was pale myself of what was going on. Because again, I always thought about the Pope being Christ, that spiritual, that mystical side. I have no doubt about. In those days, I have no doubt. But there I have a doubt. The minute that he said, the moon represents the governments of the earth. Every government, whether it's Protestant, whether it's Buddhist, whether it's Brahman, any government. The minute that every village and every city, not just on top of a government, and as the governors and the presidents and the kings and the emperor, but even the municipal government, just in a small town. And he went into all the details. Every form of government, of political government, comes there. And then I said, well, let's see. He said, you see what happened? The earth is here. Now you got the light of the sun reflected upon the earth, but not directly. It's through the moon. And every benefit that the earth receives from the sun always comes through the moon. Listen to this. Well, that is very archaic explanation, but nevertheless, again, inconsistent even with scientific research in some areas. But listen to this. The theology, the philosophy is already dramatized and the idea. Listen to this. As the sun reflects its light through the moon upon the earth, he said, the Pope is the one that rules the people of the earth through the governments of the earth. He is the sole ruler of the earth. And a crown was given unto him, and he went forth to do what? For conquering and to conquer. Now, whether a spiritual and mystical power back this rider and his commission, because that is his commission. The eight characteristic. I will say the eight characteristic. And he went forth conquering and to conquer. That is his commission. His commission is to go forward to conquer and to conquer. It's a continuous action. We said yesterday and the day before especially that if any time in history you have seen more accomplishment by the papacy is today and during this day and during this papacy of John Paul II. Never before the papacy has become more relevant than after Pius XII. And there went another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Now you have something very shocking here. While at this dramatic display of conquering and to conquer in a peaceful manner, because you don't see here nothing wrong about the appearance of this rider and this white horse. You don't see nothing controversial about in the sense of coming to war or coming to destroy. You see, everything peaceful, even a bow with an arrow, even the color. But now, behind him, listen to this. Someone asked me and said, does the Pope have any army? Well, let me tell you. First, let's speak about armies who understand better what this red horse is doing here and the rider on it. Do you think the Pope have any army? Well, I would like to make the question to you. The Pope have more than one army. The Pope today, John Paul II, this very Pope, have at his disposal to conquer that with most of the nations of the earth, every other army in this continent, not only, in every continent. Do you understand what is a concordat? A concordat has been celebrated for hundreds and hundreds of years. The first was celebrated with Constantine the Emperor. 1600 years ago, a tradition of concordat with governments of the earth. Perhaps you are not hearing well the pronunciation about concordat, but that is an agreement between the Vatican and the government of the earth. An agreement that is being celebrated almost with every other government, and that they are still pursuing this even with Protestant government and Protestant countries. Through that agreement, since the government is going to recognize the Pope not only as the spiritual leader of the Roman Catholic people, but he has to recognize the Pope as the leader of a nation. What is that nation? Well, maybe you Catholics were not taught that deciding as an Australian citizen, above and before you become an Australian citizen, you become a Roman Catholic citizen of the Vatican. And before you play alliance to your flag in Australia, you already have pledged alliance to the flag of the Vatican. And before you even pledge any alliance to the Constitution of your country, you have pledged already alliance to the canon laws, the rule, the Roman Catholic system, and the Roman Catholic clergy, and the Roman Catholic people. 800 million of Roman citizens throughout the world. Now you understand why governments immediately and quickly they think seriously about the matter. History is full of experiences that tell you every day in contemporary history, just today, not in the Middle Ages, just today, that any time that the Pope wants to trigger anything in any country, including in Australia, he has the persons to do it here today. I said today, not even tomorrow. Let's put it one way, because I can speak more of the United States than I can speak in this area of Australia and on the special visa here. You don't want to miss tomorrow. Then let me explain what is happening in the United States in this area of prophecy here. How indivisible this red horse and the rider on it is riding behind the white horse and the rider of the white horse. How indivisible. Listen to this. In the history of the United States, for the first time in the history of the country and the government of the United States, for the first time, the majority of the members of the Congress of the United States are Roman Catholics. You should know that and work it quickly, because it's happening here. Second, for the first time in the history of the United States, a Protestant majority country I'm not talking Spain. I'm talking about Colombia, Mexico. I'm not talking about France. I'm not talking about Portugal. I'm talking about United States of America. For the first time, not only the members of the Congress have become the majority Roman Catholic, but the Senate, the majority, is right now, this very evening, a majority of Roman Catholic members. And for the first time, not only the Congress and the Senate of the United States, but for the first time the cabinet of one single president in the United States, and the history of the president, the majority of his cabinet right now, and is in the increase as he goes in the second term, has been in the increase. It's becoming, the majority is now Roman Catholic. Fourth, for the first time in the history of the United States of America, the Pentagon, the chief of staff, the chief of the armies of the United States, the members of that staff, the majority, for the first time, are Roman Catholics. Now you tell me that all this is coincidence? And for the first time in the history of the United States, the Supreme Court of the United States, for the first time, the majority is Catholic, especially with the last appointments. And not to name other institutions and government, including immigration, one of the most sensitive institutions in any country. You know what? Because the flow of Roman Catholics are given priority in coming into the country. And millions, untold millions of Roman Catholics are given priority. Only in this amnesty alone, only in this law, there was the work of the Vatican as part of the work of a concordat with the United States as a grant. That amnesty was worked out by the Vatican, because 90% of 10 million of people that will be citizens in the United States will add to 58 million of Roman Catholics. Just an act of law. The red horse is at work, and we see more dramatic than never before a political power is more needed every day for Roman Catholicism to survive than never before in history. Along with that is the mystical power that's becoming more relevant. Roman Catholic clergy never were known as to be so mystical, so charismatic as they are today, including the Pope of Rome. They say, look at what a charismatic man he is. And the priests becoming more charismatic every day. Priests that even you as Roman Catholics many times were a very difficult thing to relate to a priest. I mean, very difficult. A handshake, even from a priest, was an act of penance. But today, the priest shakes your hands, embrace you, and bless you, and pray with you, everything. They're becoming more charismatic. What are these two powers here? As we go immediately, we see that throughout history, the red has been working next to the black, and is coming to be known better and more dramatic in this combination than never before, behind the white. Listen, behind the white. Wherever the Pope goes to any territory, you will see that the decrease of communism is not there. On the contrary, communism goes in the increase. What is this? What is happening? Calamities and economy and geography and every aspect of the world, every other curse follow his visit. Every other. But political power is being gained tremendously. One visit of the Pope to any country has gained what hundreds of years has been lost. The Red Horse, seen in the Russian Revolution as a combination of the Jesuit order with socialism that was not to work as they were expected, and suddenly communism was the goal immediately, and they prepared and trained the men for it. You have among the founders of communism, the fathers of communism, men like Karl Marx, Engels, even before the father, the tutor of Marx. And who he was? Well, a lot of people speak about Karl Marx being even Satanist, and it was true. He became a Satanist. But you know how? He was a very faithful Roman Catholic, a very strong militant Catholic member of one of the greatest, most militant Catholic organizations in Germany. Now, and he became a Satanist, and then thirdly, communism. From Engels to Marx to Lenin to Stalin, you have a tremendous record in their background of a combination even of Judaism with Catholicism. Whatever other country you follow, and this hemisphere alone, you will find from Vietnam to Laos to any other country, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Europe, you will find behind all the struggle with communist Roman Catholicism. First Catholicism, then later communism. No one single country has been deprived from that dreadful experience. And Central America and the Caribbean, right now, your communist leaders there, they all, today, in contemporary history, not in the Middle Ages, not in the 1900s, today and now, they have come out from the greatest Jesuit colleges. Ortega in Nicaragua, Castro in Cuba, in Guatemala, in Panama, in Peru, every other socialist or communist has come out from the greatest socialist, not communist school, not Jesuit training schools. Why be so indivisible from one to the next? We find the black horse riding. And the interesting thing, I will not say that they ride next one to another, but they ride one after the another, backing the other. We have the mystical power. And to conclude this evening, let me call your attention at the beginning of what we are to see tomorrow night. Listen to this. There is right now the greatest display before your very eyes of this prophetical reality of what this whole system is all about, as here between these four riders and these four horses and these commissions that were granted to them to be carried out throughout the world. This combination is more dramatically seen today by the fact that even communists today have the favor, the protection of what they never had before since their revolutions. What is that? They have now the interpretation, I said interpretation of what is called the capital being interpreted by Jesuits through what is called the theology of liberation. It was too difficult for you to be persuaded as a Roman Catholic about communism. It was too difficult for you as a Protestant, as any other member of any other religion to be persuaded about communism. Then they come with the solution, theology of liberation. And those who are not persuaded by the political power are being persuaded now by the mystical one. We will see tomorrow the third stage of the concerning the Virgin of Fatima revelation, how the Jesuits are preparing the final touches for the final takeover. Tonight you have seen, I believe that you have seen this reality face to face. They are uncovered, and many more that we would like to see. But I would like to call your attention to something that is beyond, and it is beyond anything that you see and that you hear about this conspiracy. There is no doubt about it. You are living, and we are living, in the midst of the greatest conspiracy that the world ever came to know. And I said to them, this personage, there are only one conspirator and one conspiracy. Every other thing is behind here. Every other thing in operation is under the umbrella of this conspiracy and of this conspirator. Whether it is a ecumenical movement, whether it is charismatic movement, whether it is the New Age movement, whether it is Masons, whether they are Mormons, whether they are Jehovah's Witnesses, whether they are witches, whether they are Satanists, everything is coming under this umbrella. And you have failed to isolate them. I said you have failed because they fear to touch Roman Catholicism. That fear is not from God. It's not from Christ. It's not from the Spirit of Jesus Christ. It's from the Spirit of the Antichrist. You have an opportunity this evening, once and for all, to settle the matter of fear. Where is love, the Bible said, there is no fear, no room for fear. There is thereby that if anyone said that fear, well, he is not perfect in love. You've been tempted as a Christian, perhaps, into these areas of isolation, trying to protect Catholicism from this evil and from the other evil, when Catholicism is the mother of them all. This is why the prophecy begins with the white horse, and the rider of the white horse is no other than the Pope of Rome. He's not a Jew, he's not a Muslim, he may be a combination later. Who knows? He's already there. Many cardinals are members of the Cardinal College. They are Jewish extraction. Another surprise. What they are doing there. What they are doing there. What Jews are doing as members of the Cardinal College, as Roman Catholics now. Who is preparing what? The Jewish or the papacy? The Muslims or the papacy? The New Age movement or the papacy? The Mormons, the Satanists, the communists? Who is preparing what really is coming to be the final destruction of this planet? You are to have one side or the other. That is the conclusion this evening. You cannot follow two masters. Religiously speaking, you may be thinking that you are doing well enough by not being even part of anything, being neutral. Well, there's no even room for that. You gotta take a side. In my heart, as I myself was led of the Spirit of the Lord Jesus Christ the day of my salvation, I choose the side of Jesus Christ. I choose to ride with Him, behind Him, not ahead of Him, with Him, behind Him, and a white horse. I was riding with the black horse, with the white horse, with the red horse, and with the pale horse. You cannot excuse yourself of these prophecies. You are part of them. You are part of them. And only one thing could free you. I said could free you from being a part either of the white horse, of the red horse, of the black horse, or of the pale horse, or of them all. Only Jesus Christ. Through the power of His blood, through the power of His cleansing, you can be free. He said, if ye continue in my word. What? Tradition? My word. Ye shall be my disciples, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. If the Son set you free, you shall be free indeed. Is the person, is the teaching. They are indivisible. Christ and his teachings are indivisible. You are to come this evening, if you are not a Christian yet, if you are still a religious, devout person, you need to be more than that. To be in Christ, you need to be a Christian. And Christians do not make themselves. Christians do not become the result of some liturgy. Christians are the result of discipleship. The Word of God. Not liturgy, not tradition, not empirical experiences, regardless how mystical they are. You need to become a Christian. And Christ can make you one tonight.
This has been part 7 in a series of 8 messages preached by Dr. Alberto Rivera at Good Shepherd Baptist Church, Albany Creek, Queensland, in November 1987. This message is copyright, but copies of it and others in the series may be obtained by writing Evangelistic Literature Enterprise, P.O. Box 10, Strathpine, Queensland, 4500.